be the first word that you guys hear.
That might have been.
That was pre adult language.
All
warning.
the kids, Kyle.
I know. I'm sorry. Don't ever. I'm not a role model.
There's usually
don't follow me.
thousands of children tuned in right as the show starts, and every time we do, we say, "Hey guys!" Every once in a while, we use adult language. All the parents diligently usher their kids away so that they can't hear. And now, all of those kids' ears have been tainted by your foul mouth.
We should also have another warning at the beginning of the show that says, occasionally we'll use foul language before we remember to give you a warning.
So you should have watched the last show to have gotten the warning about this show.
Yep.
And then that would all make sense.
That's how we get repeat viewers. What the is going on? Welcome, everyone, to Awesome Hardware. That's a cool way to start the show.
Well played.
This is also Awesome Hardware episode 193, Side A. So that's my half today. In about half an hour or so, we're going to switch over to Paul's half, which today is going to be sort of Paul's half is going to be more or less like a Q&A / after party.
I do have some news.
Gaming. He does have some headliners, so stick around for that.
Arguably more important than your news.
That's why it's arguable. That's just your opinion.
You're right.
You suck.
No, it's supplementary news. It's
is.
like the news that you didn't realize you wanted to hear about, but you actually do once you hear it.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for today.
I'm cool with that.
Also games.
It's gonna be great. So today we are we're talking about the follow up news about Ryzen 3000 as well as Navi, all the new stuff from AMD. There's a lot of follow up news on that, and we're also gonna be talking about Comet Lake 10 nanometer. What is this? Or no. It's still 14 nanometer plus. Cookies.
These are cookies.
The cookie that was in my mouth and in Paul's hand in the thumbnail, these are the same cookies.
Yeah.
Well, they're from the same batch.
Ones from the thumbnail are eaten.
Yes. They're very good. Paul makes the perfect cookie. Chocolate chip. They're chewy. They're soft. They're like the right amount of sweetness, right amount and number of chocolate chips. It's very scientific, Paul's baking.
Oh yeah.
But you should try one of Paul's cookies. If you think his hardware is hot. Oof. You haven't had his cookies.
You'll love my cookies.
No wonder your wife married you. All right, so today we are also selling things on our store. So if you would like to check out my store, it's bitwit.tech, where I've got shirts and pint glasses and hoodies and stuff. I thought it was appropriate to wear my BIOS Flasher shirt today because we might be talking about some BIOS news. News with the Ryzen 3000.
It's a great tie-in.
Seems very befitting. We also have stuff on Paul's store, paulshardware.net, where he has the same high-quality merchandise, lovely designs, and apparel.
Good things.
That you can check out.
We'll
yell Johnson at you at the end of the show if you happen to buy something from either of our stores.
Yep.
We also like to have a few drinks on the show, as you might have already seen, and we occasionally use foul language, as I demonstrated earlier. That was an accident. I don't usually start every stream with an F-bomb, but it does happen. So if you have the little ones around, you have sensitive ears, be warned. Cheers. Oh, that's good.
Belching Beaver Peanut Butter Milk Stout.
This is going to go really good with the cookies you made.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to try that combo later.
Perfect pair.
All right, let's just dive in here. Our first article is from WCCF Tech. They've always got the fun, big headlines. Not clickbaity at all. This is about Intel's 10th gen Comet Lake CPUs.
10th gen.
There's been a whole lineup. The whole lineup has been leaked as far as specs, the names, prices,
really,
all that stuff.
Really,
and I really hate the naming scheme. If this is true,
no.
The 10900. How are you going to say this?
KF.
The Core i9 10900 KF.
Oh, that's horrible.
The Core i9 10900. Like it looks bad. It sounds bad. We could have a whole half a show just on the terrible naming scheme here.
There's too many zeros and they're not evenly distributed.
Yeah, there's just too many numbers.
Yeah,
it's starting to look like an old Lian Li case.
Yeah,
just no good marketing there. But let's talk about the actual meat of this article here. We've got 13 different SKUs that just had their specs leaked. That's the whole friggin' family.
13
of these 14 nanometer now plus CPUs, because Intel is still working on their 10 nanometer chips that should be available later this year, from what we've been told. But we'll see if.
Wait, these are what?
Yeah.
This is 10th gen Comet Lake.
Which would have been so nice
still 14 nanometer.
Which would have been great to have like their 10th gen be the 10 nanometer. Like I felt like after how much effort AMD put into like having 7 nanometer launch on July 7th on 7/7.
They got real matchy.
They got super matchy, and Intel's just like, flips the table. We don't give an F. We're going to do 10th gen, but still 14 nanometer, albeit with 3 pluses after it, which is just starting to get a little silly. But we have, let's talk about the chips here. We've got flagship Core i9 parts that are rocking 10 cores and 20 threads. Okay. It was pretty expected that they would raise the core count. Wasn't very certain to how much. If they would be matching AMD's now flagship 12 core, and in a couple months or in a month or two, they're 16 core. Doesn't look like Intel's going to be very close to that at all. But 10 cores, 20 threads is still somewhat of a leg up over 8 cores and 16 threads, which is their existing 9900K spec. These are going to start. These Core i9 parts are going to start at $409 all the way up to $499, which is kind of surprising because right now the 9900K is it was well over $500 when it first launched. Now we're getting 2 more cores and 4 more threads on these Core i9 parts, but they're going to be around the same price for one of their 8-core 16-thread parts. It's almost as if they're lowering their prices to stay competitive with the competition, which is a good thing. I guess we should be happy about this. They're also going to have 2 Core i7 SKUs. Oh, the other thing to point out here is that they're going to have multiple Core i9 parts, not just a single flagship on their mainstream side. So instead of just 1, we've got at least 2. There's going to be 2 Core i7 SKUs, rocking 8 cores and 16 threads, which is what Intel's currently highest flagship mainstream chip is rocking. But these are going to be priced anywhere between $339 and $389, which is also pretty competitively priced compared to what Intel has launched their 8-core 16-thread CPUs for in the past, and even currently. We also have Core i5 chips with a 6-core 12-thread setup, and these are going to start at $179, going up to $269. These prices are similar to the existing Core i5s that we have now, like the 9600K, for example, but these are going to support hyperthreading. Again, this is to really. It seems like they're really trying to compete with AMD here, with AMD having all their CPUs, regardless of tier, supporting simultaneous multi-threading for the most part, whereas Intel has traditionally not really had that feature available unless it was on their more premium, high-end products. So now we're starting to see that sort of feature set trickle down to their lower-end CPUs on the Intel side. Core i3 SKUs are going to be starting at $129, going up to $179. These are going to be parted out with a 4-core, 8-thread configuration. So even their Core i3s, it seems like all their Core i3s will be hyper-threaded.
Huh.
And bear in mind that a 4-core, 8-thread part from Intel retailed for over $300 just a few generations ago.
Wow.
And now we're going to see them on Core i3s for as low as $129.
It's almost like they could have put hyper-threading on all of their CPUs at any time.
The whole time.
And yeah, all they needed was some competition.
All they did. Yeah, that was it. So we have some more details specifically about the flagship parts in each of these categories. So for the Core i9, as we sort of bickered about, or just complained about in the title there, the Core i9 10900 KF. I still don't know if I should say 10900 or 10900. Or the 10900. It just, that alone is a problem.
It's still
you don't even know how to say it.
On.
You don't even know how to say it, but it's going to be the rumored flagship. It's the rumored flagship currently, going up against the Ryzen 9 3900X, which has 12 cores and 24 threads.
Was there any? I'm sorry if I missed it, but was there any explanation in this article as to where this information came from, or like how?
Oh yeah, Computer Base. Computer Base got it from a Chinese-based tech forum.
Okay.
That was the original source. Which I feel like the Chinese forums are usually pretty accurate with the leaks. Not always. Still grain of salt, but a lot of the ones that I've been hearing recently, I'm like, oh, I guess that turned out to be true. That doesn't mean that they're all true, of course. Grain of salt all around, but...
Or you could look at it like, oh, what a surprise immediately after AMD's stuff launches.
Like an intentional leak, perhaps?
This information just happens to slip out.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe like the China team at Intel just like doesn't care. They don't care. Like they're the mischievous branch of Intel, where they're in charge of like sabotaging their own launches to generate hype, build the hype train.
I know we're not doing sword fed on this, but I'm gonna go with fake. This is.
Yep. You think it's 100% fake? not announce the truth, not a lick of truth here.
This is such horrible names. Like some of the
I hope
some of the SKUs look okay. I mean, if they really are launching a full lineup on 14 nanometer still this year, prior to is 10 nanometer coming out? Like how
close together are these launches going to have to be?
Knowing that AMD's already there with 7 nanometer, which is very competitive. And knowing that Intel has been working on 10 nanometer for so long, like how can they possibly even drum up very much enthusiasm or public interest in a launch like this? Maybe they're just going for it because they've invested enough time into its development that they've got to launch something.
Right.
But just really, these names are horrible.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Usually they're intelligent enough to. I mean, well, no, never mind. They
stop you right there.
There is a historic like four numbers. You can't go past 4 numbers. You can have
the golden rule.
Yeah,
you
can have 2 numbers or whatever. You can get up to 4 numbers, but you go to 5 numbers. There's just too many.
Yeah.
It usually always resets back to 3 or something. Like AMD and Nvidia go back and forth between like one of them's on the 600 series, 700 series, whatever.
Right.
And 500. Anyway. Okay.
No, yeah. You're totally right about that, Paul. I do hope that some of the information in this article is false, if not all of it. But we'll just have to wait and see. This is all we have for now. You know, it's definitely raises an eyebrow that, you know, it's possible too that, you know, even though it seems a little bit suspicious that this would surface right after the big AMD launches, that maybe it's also a good reason for people to just create fake news. You know, because they know there'll be a lot of hype on both sides, a lot of interest on both sides of the competition. But moving on here, we have base and boost clocks of that Core i9 part. I'm not even going to address it by name. It's too frustrating. 3.4 and 5.2 gigahertz. So that's a 200 megahertz boost over, higher of a boost, single core boost than the existing 9900K. So potentially you might be able to overclock to 5.2 gigahertz on all cores. It doesn't necessarily mean that, and I say that because a lot of people have been speculating, this is sort of a digression here, but that you'd be able to overclock the 3900X to 4.6 gigahertz on all cores simply because it has a single core boost to 4.6 gigahertz. I saw this on being addressed with like Hardware Unboxed, and Steve from Gamers Nexus were chiming in on Twitter, just trying to like clear up any confusion because people just had this idea in their minds that single core boost generally means that you can do an all core manual overclock to that same speed. That's not necessarily the case.
It's been true with some chips in the past.
Yeah, some cases it's a pattern, but it's not consistent.
Certainly not with any of AMD's recent. Nothing on Ryzen has behaved that way.
So there's that. It's going to have a 105 watt TDP, but remember that Intel's TDPs are typically only referring to their base clock power consumption, and not necessarily any other boosts. So take that with a grain of salt. It's going to have 20 megabytes of cache. We're going to have a Core i7 flagship, the 10700K, which is an 8-core, 16-thread part. Equally terrible naming. Competes against the Ryzen 7 3800X, which is also an 8-core, 16-thread part. It's going to have a 3.6 gigahertz base and 5.1 gigahertz boost, 16 megabytes of cache at a $389 price. This is not a KF SKU, so it does have...
This says $339. Are you talking about the 10700K?
Oh, okay, sorry. Is it $339?
That or the article says something different than the chart.
Huh, weird. Because it also says that the flagship parts, or the i7 SKUs will go up to $389, and then it calls this 10700K the flagship Core i7. So I assumed that it would be that price. But
either the chart's wrong or the article's wrong. But if it's $389, that would be a lot closer to the i9 10800F, which I'm very excited about personally. Wait, does the non-K ones mean they're not going to be overclockable again? Because they're stupid like that?
The non-K ones? Yeah, I would think so.
You gotta,
yeah.
Okay.
Right. So you could probably get a cheaper motherboard with it or something. It's a totally different system than AMD. And then we've got Core i5 10600K, which is the flagship Core i5. 6-core, 12 threads, which is going to compete with the Ryzen 5 3600X. And that's going to have a 3.7 and 4.9 gigahertz base and boost clock, respectively, with 12 megabytes of cache. There's also a Core i5 10400 6-core, 12-thread for $179, which is going to be cheaper than the Ryzen 5 3600. That's kind of interesting. And then a Core i3 10300 4-core 8-thread part, boosting up to 4.4 gigahertz, with also a price of $179, which is the same price as the Core i5 that I just mentioned. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. There's some really odd-looking specs on this chart that we're going to have to verify at a later time if it's all a bunch of bullshit. There's also rumored to be a new LGA 1159 platform required for 10th gen. So sorry to all of you LGA 1151 motherboard owners. Intel does not think that you should have a scalable platform and that you can make an investment in a motherboard and still continue to use that board over multiple generations of CPU releases. No, you must upgrade, but both by the CPU and the motherboard, which is going to be a pain in the ass if you already have a system built and you want to swap out your board. It's literally connected to everything in your system. But that's the Intel way, or at least it has been for quite some time now. It doesn't seem to be changing much. New chipset, it's probably going to mean a new chipset as well, Z490. It's not an official name or anything. Again, this is all rumor, speculation, grain of salt. But at least Z490 would be less terrible than Core i9 10900 KF BS. Apparently, this platform is going to be adding native support to the platform for DDR4 3200 speed memory versus the existing 2666 speeds that it's currently natively supporting. So that's fun. Chat. No, why did I say chat? Chat is saying it's fake. Here is link they are giving us.
There are quite a few people in chat saying it's fake.
Okay. So what is this? Is this the chart? This is the fake chart?
I don't know. I don't usually just click on random links in chat.
Well, no. This is from Cell.
Oh, Cell put that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then if Cell put it there, then it's obviously
Cell's safe. He doesn't have viruses.
Obviously safe.
I didn't give him any STDs. Okay. Well, if it's fake, it's fake. This is probably definitely not the first time we've talked about fake news on this show, but from everything I'm reading so far, I'm actually kind of relieved. And that it's fake, and I hope it is, and I hope that we get 10 nanometer CPUs from Intel as the next launch. I think we're all pretty sick of 14 nanometer at this point. It's been years. But let's move on then to hopefully some more real news.
Okay.
AMD's confirmed that custom RX 5700 series GPUs are coming next month.
Woo!
Yay! This is from Hot Hardware. This was through an official AMD tweet, which is not listed on this article, but I'm sure it's real. Don't need to verify that, of course. Mid-August is apparently when the first round...
The question is what the answer, according to AMD, with a link that you would expect to be the link to AMD making the announcement.
It's not,
it's a search of Hot Hardware with an AMD tag.
Right.
Because Hot Hardware, God forbid you link off of your website. People always get so worried about that. Okay, sorry.
All right, so mid-August. That's just about a month away now. Month and a week. So... that's exciting because from what we've been hearing from guys like Gamers Nexus and other reviewers who
via Reddit. All right, there's a via link at the bottom of Reddit.
The stock coolers on these Navi cards they're not the best. They're loud, they're hot, and of course AMD hasn't really done anything to the power design.
Scott Herkelman posted it on Reddit.
Oh, it was on Reddit.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't know why.
See?
I don't know why I said...
This is why people watch our shows, because it's the live investigative journalism that we do.
Yeah.
We're just bringing you the information as we read it.
Indeed.
Hey.
That's how it is. So this is kind of exciting. Like I said, the stock coolers are pretty garbage. No one should buy them. And also, you're going to get not only better cooling and better noise profiles with these custom cards, but potentially better power delivery as well. It could actually perform better and give you a couple extra frames there for your dollar. And
usually for a couple extra dollars.
Yeah, I was going to say, and they might be a little bit more expensive, but I think it'd be worth it for sure. Unless you buy one of the reference designs and slap your own kind of cooler on there, whether it be like one of those NZXT add-ons or something similar. I've been seeing a lot of people throwing on like R9290 and R9390X coolers on these 5700 cards.
Oh, really?
And actually, it bolts up pretty nicely. Turns out.
Similar board design.
Yeah. So you can try that too. But if you don't want to mess around with that business, custom cards are on the way. They should be here soon. Speaking of, there's been some leaks from MSI. I don't know if it's from MSI, but the slides are from MSI. I'm not exactly sure who leaked it, but there's some new MSI slides that reveal product stack for custom RX 5700 series cards. On the XT side, we've got the Gaming X, the Evoke OC, the Mech OC, and the Air Boost. For the non-XT 5700 cards, we've got the Gaming X, Mech OC, and Air Boost. So there's there's another slide here that talks about the Mech, or at least there's a quote from MSI that was probably from the slide that says that the Mech series is pretty much just focusing on the essentials. So it's going to be more value oriented.
They're obviously not focusing on how to spell focus.
Yeah, focuses.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Please continue, Kyle.
Yeah, so it's going to be more of like just the basics. It's a GPU for the basic that has the basics. It's probably going to perform just fine, probably better than reference. However, it's not going to have a bunch of bells and whistles on it. It's going to come in at a lower price than a lot of the other custom cards, perhaps. But yeah, it should run cooler with its dual fan design. It should be a lot quieter as well than one of the blower blower designs from AMD. Don't have much information other than that. But yeah, I think this is the first custom board we've seen for 5700 series. Have you seen any others?
No.
I've seen a lot of supers, but
oh
first
yeah,
one from AMD.
Because the supers is like all of the special designs of the the RTX 2070 and 2060 that they already have.
Mm-hmm.
They're just gonna swap over to the supers.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Fewer brand new designs for that series. All right, so one last story here about the RX 5700 series cards. There's an article from Overclock 3D confirming that these GPUs will lack Crossfire support.
Oh.
And the question right after that is, does anyone care? So I guess this is just sort of a reminder that multi-GPU configurations and just that whole thing is kind of in the toilet. Multi-GPU configs have been in the toilet for quite some time now. For a multitude of reasons. Performance hasn't been consistent, and it's very unreliable. There isn't a whole lot of support that developers are dumping into multi-GPU setups for their games. Such configurations can have much higher noise and thermal results, which is not good. A single GPU is almost always faster, or I'm sorry, almost always a better option than two smaller GPUs. This is something that we've been saying for years, and you can tell we've just been seeing a huge decline in multi-GPU support. I think it was with the GTX 10 series with Pascal that they stopped doing SLI on what was it, like any of the more entry level or mid range cards. I think it was only reserved for the GTX 1070 and 1080.
I think that's also when they cut support for 3 and 4-way. And they said,
yeah, right.
We're just going to focus on 2-way.
Yep, exactly. And now it's like, and even 2-way is... I feel like the only benefit to 2-way, or for any multi-GPU config now, is that it looks cool. Like, it looks more beastly when you've got two GPUs in your system, especially if you're water cooling them. It's like an ooh and ah. It's kind of like a shock, awe effect. Shock and awe thing.
It says here it can do
showpiece.
Explicit multi-GPU mode for Vulkan and DX12.
Yeah, there are some rare instances where the game developer will allow it just simply through...
It's more of a feature
those
of
APIs.
Of the API.
Yeah, right.
Of
the APIs. But it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare that you actually see that. And I feel like the performance there has been very inconsistent. So that's all to say that Crossfire sucks. No one cares that it won't be here for this generation of GPUs. Let's move on to the last story that I have today. This is about Derbauer. He posted a video. You should all subscribe to Derbauer's YouTube channel. He does a lot of good stuff there. And he did a bunch of tests on X570, the chipset specifically, to find out why does it consume so much power? Why is the TDP of this brand new chipset more than double what its predecessor X470 was? Well, when he was walking around Computex, the show floor of Computex, this year, he was told by a number of vendors, as was I, that the reason for the extreme power consumption on X570 was due to PCIe Gen 4, and that it just required more juice to power those higher end devices with more bandwidth. But in his testing, he found that wasn't really the case. He stressed multiple PCIe Gen 4 devices simultaneously. So if you look at the blue graphs there, that's X470. You've got idle with no devices connected, and then with one NVMe drive connected, and then one NVMe drive under load. And so, yeah, it consumes a bit more power under load, of course. But then when you look at the yellow graphs, the yellow bars, and he did the same test, you can obviously see that when it's idling, X570 consumes a lot more power at idle than X470. It just starts at a higher base. But from that point, it doesn't really consume that much more power when you have a PCIe Gen 4 device being stressed at full load. So he couldn't really determine. It looks like the PCIe Gen 4 SSD that he was stressing here didn't really consume all that much more power than the PCIe Gen 3 device did on X470. So he's kind of baffled here and doesn't really have a reason, or he can't pinpoint why the chipset requires so much extra power. And this kind of makes it a bit baffling as to why almost every single X570 motherboard has an active cooling solution on it, with a little tiny fan, and that usually has a couple heat pipes that go to the rest of the VRM, and there's a big focus on active cooling on these boards. But in Der Bauer's experience, he actually had multiple devices being stressed simultaneously, and he even swapped out the active fan, the active cooling solution, for a little tiny passive heatsink. And after all of his testing, his temperatures peaked at just 74 degrees Celsius. So it didn't seem like he was overheating the chipset, even despite there being little to no airflow and passive cooling. It's kind of interesting.
I'm kind of triggered that he doesn't have his M.2 drive.
Oh, well, no wonder it wasn't consuming much power. He didn't install it right.
Yeah.
He's a pro overclocker, but he doesn't know how to...
It's going to affect the power draw there.
Doesn't mean he knows how to build a PC. It's a Verge... There's a Verge joke in there somewhere.
I have two thoughts about this. One...
Paul has a thought?
I have two thoughts.
Two thoughts? Double thought.
One is that AMD told us that the dies they're using for the chipsets are the same ones that's the I/O die and the Ryzen 3000 chips themselves. You've got either one or two little chiplets with the CPU cores on them. Then you have an I/O die that's either 12 or 14 nanometer manufacturing process built. They were never 100% clear about that. So, I don't know how far how the development process goes. At what point they decided they were going to use the same chip for both. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, but it could be they designed it to go on to be the I/O die for the CPU, which is going to have a heat spreader over it with a cooler, in which point having a slightly higher TDP for a chipset, not a big slightly higher TDP for a chip like that, not a big deal because it's going to have plenty of cooling on it. And then at some point they're like, we could save XYZ development time or whatever by reusing that for the chipset on the motherboard as well. Mm-hmm. But we have to deal with the high. So maybe that has something to do with it.
So they thought it was going to consume more power than it really did, just because they were porting.
No, just that it was originally designed to be with a couple chiplets on a substrate on a CPU. That's going to have cooling on it. That was the original intent for the design for that chip.
Right.
And then they, at some point, realized, we could use that for the chipset as well.
Yeah.
Went forward with that, but the downside to it was that it had to have active cooling.
Right.
And then potential answer to why it needs active cooling, even though Der Bauer has tested it with passive cooling and it didn't get that hot. And this is just me remembering back to remember the P67 chipset recall that Intel originally had back when Sandy Bridge first launched. And it was because of the SATA controller that was part of the chipset peripheral controller hub. And that they discovered would basically wear out over time. It was because of the traces, and I think it was a heat issue there as well. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe those two are somehow related. I'm not speaking very well. Maybe those two are somehow related.
This is a lot more than two thoughts, Paul.
No, they're two thoughts. It's two. Just two.
Made up of many other thoughts.
But the fact that there has to be active cooling on it is probably for edge case scenarios. Most of the time, it's not going to get hot enough to require cooling. But if it ever does, if it ever has the potential to, then they have to build all the boards with the capability of handling that situation.
Right. Yeah. Which makes sense if AM4 is this scalable platform that people could be using for generations, right?
Yeah.
Like eventually you might be slotting in a really high-end PCIe Gen 4 supported GPU. And maybe somehow they've done some kind of testing to emulate that and realized, oh, with an actual graphics card that's PCIe Gen 4 that can, utilize all this bandwidth, it does get really hot. And they have to prepare for that worst case scenario. You looking at my screen? Is there something?
No, I was reading chat. Sorry.
Oh yeah, a lot of porn bots. Thanks, honey. Thanks, Sel, for kicking those porn bots to the curb.
Stupid porn bots.
Fuck you, porn bots, making my wife's life more difficult. Yeah, but whatever the case, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other testing on this topic, and it'll be interesting to see what comes.
If 15 years ago, like a witch had come and told you, like, Kyle, in 15 years you'll be like surrounded by porn bots, what would you have thought? I'd be like, wow, that sounds great. Right?
I've seen Austin Powers. I know.
Yeah,
I know that
exactly. The little digit. Yeah, no,
it's never what it seems, is it?
Yep.
All right. On that note, let's shuffle over to Pit My PC.
Yeah,
because I owe you guys. We didn't get around to doing it 2 weeks ago, and we initially planned because my stream system at the time was blue screening unexpectedly.
Oh yeah.
Which has been resolved by now, but I felt really bad that I didn't get around to it. So this time we're gonna do some submissions. Thank you guys for submitting all your rigs. They're all terrible, which is why they're here now. So the first one is Bryson E. Ryzen 5 2600 with an RX 580, 640 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, 500 watt PSU, and the best case ever made.
Merry Christmas.
Is that a Cooler Master case? What case is this? Looks Cooler Master?
Is it
like
a Senti? A Senti. It's a Senti.
What's a Senti?
I don't know if they're still around. It's got these old school optical drive holders. I've seen these. They're like these little plastic things.
Yeah.
And I hate them.
Yeah, me too. They're really.
I could not tell you what case this is, but is it really Senti? Is it?
Oh, someone said Senti.
I think it's Sentey. But yeah.
Did you recognize it as a Senti, or is that what you saw in chat?
No, they just said the Senti cases. I remember not thinking much of, and they had a black and red thing. And I feel like they might have used these type of optical drives.
Someone in chat did say Senti, so maybe you're right about that. Yeah, I don't know if that's the best case ever made. I would challenge that. But at any rate, it looks like your cable management could use some help. If this really was the best case ever made, I think you'd probably be able to route that 8-pin CPU cable behind the motherboard tray.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even look like you have like a cutout at the top left of your case for that sort of thing. So
this seems a DIY PC Solar MR1.
I totally believe
according
that,
to the Cat Pirate.
That's a fairly garbage PC manufacturer, case manufacturer. I remember having to do PC DIY cases reviews and videos at Newegg because they paid for the video to be done, and it'd be like you'd have to like draw straws, like whoever got.
They kept sending over
Who's gonna do the PC DIY
like
case?
Horrendously made, like just cheapest possible construction setups for mining rigs. Because this was back during the first mining craze,
right?
And it was just like, why would anyone pay for this? It's a bad product,
right?
From the get-go.
Pure garbage.
And it's like anyone who's mining is spending as little money as possible. No one wants to buy a specialized mining case because they're using milk crates to prop the graphics cards in or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Brief tangent.
But at any rate, you should probably
burn it.
Get a new case.
Burn the whole.
Get a new case. Get a what CPU? Okay, you have a 2600. Oh yeah, you have good specs here.
Yeah,
your core specs are great. Focus on aesthetics then in that case. Get a newer case, get some nice power supply cables, whether it's a new power supply with just flat black cables if you want to save some money, or you can buy some extensions. Get a case where you can mount your SSD somewhere proper,
proud,
not on the floor
should
of
be proud
the chassis.
Look at that. Sad SSD.
I love those SP units. They're super affordable.
Some dust particles alongside it.
I'm sure your CPU temps are fine because the 2600 is a fairly cool running chip, but I don't know. I have a thing with.
Sorry, Chad. I should have warned you guys before I zoomed in on it like this. Look at the.
Why?
Just look at the cable, man. Look at the 8-pin.
Going
God,
it's horrible.
Going up over the.
Looking at it up close is even worse. That's really bad.
Yeah.
And
Rewire,
also,
rebuild.
And also, yeah, I would make your CPU cooler vertical, not horizontal. I just have a thing with putting the CPU cooler, the heatsink fan, right over your GPU.
But right now, the Cooler Master logo is facing the right.
I guess you do have that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's less of an issue to me. I would agree vertical is more common, but there's plenty of space here. I don't think that's really causing a major problem. As long as it's pushing air up, not down.
Depends on how hot that GPU is.
Get a new case and power supply and rebuild the system.
Do it. Do it now.
Good.
Thanks, Bryson.
Dakota
Ryzen
Wise.
1600, Asus X370 Prime Pro, a dual RTX 2060. That's an Asus dual, not two of them. 16 gigs of Team Dark memory, 2 terabyte Barracuda 3.5 drive, and Define R6 case. Okay. Interesting. I have an RTX 2060 and a 1600. You might be able to get a little more performance out of that card with like a faster CPU, but that's okay. It's still going to be great performance. Very clean system, actually. I feel like the cable management is pretty good. Like you're like 90% there. I feel like some of the cables, like I think it's that USB 3 at the top that's going into that large grommet, looks a little funky because it's just in front of everything.
Yeah.
And then there's also some cables at the bottom, just over the power supply shroud. That's also USB 3. That could be just tidied up, maybe like tucked away a little bit tighter. That's not just hanging out there. Everything else looks really good. Obviously, I think power supply extensions would go a long way here. Even though they are black, they do look not quite as classy. And I think that's pretty much it.
If you want to get super picky, you could rotate your fractal fan so that the little snowflake logo was the same on both of them.
Yep.
That's minor though.
And the
maybe consider something for your SSD. Your little SSD drive there. It's got some blue and some green standing out, which doesn't jive with the rest of the build.
See that.
Other than that, yeah, like Kyle said, the cable management is good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's honestly perfectly fine anywhere else but on My PC where we critique things like this.
Exactly.
But it could be better.
Yeah.
So rebuild your whole damn computer.
Burn it to the ground.
Throw it in the trash. No, good.
Don't do that.
Thank you, Dakota. All right.
We have William. With the Ryzen 5 1600.
At first, I thought his name was William Williamson. Which would be funny.
William Williams.
Right.
1600X, H60 AIO, 16 gigs, GTX 1080 WindForce from Gigabyte, Asus ROG Strix B350F motherboard, and we have some LL series fans, and we have some other stuff. Okay, a lot of LL series fans. That did not come cheap. That's probably well over $100 worth of fans there.
Wait, they're all LL series fans?
Oh, at least the 3 of them are. Oh no,
I think the ones in front are white fans.
Okay, he just got 1 3-pack then, but that's still like $100.
Yes, they are.
Still over $100 worth of fans.
I have to remind myself of that every time I'm using them.
Yeah.
Because Corsair just sent them to me.
Oh, I know. So they are so nice.
That's such a mixed. They're nice. They're
so nice.
Do you know how much the fans in Riptide cost?
Dude, probably like $300 or something.
No, like 600. Like something like that.
Series?
Yes. Because I added them all up.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
$600 of fans. That's more than some people's PCs.
There's 8.
You privileged fucker.
There's 840 millimeter ones.
Oh my god.
At the, on the top rad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 at the back. Or no, at the back it might still be 120s. And then there's however many there at the front. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay.
3 times 6.
So
like 18 fans in there then.
Yeah, it's.
Oh boy.
I like the TIE Fighter down at the bottom.
Yeah, points for the TIE Fighter. We also have an interesting cable for your graphics card. Is that purple, or is it just the lighting on the camera?
I think it's just the. You're right. That is kind of interesting.
Weird.
In the dark picture, it looks black, but that's a dark picture.
Yeah. At any rate, it should all be black. Same sort of deal here. Sleeved extensions. Your cable management's actually pretty good. I don't really have too many complaints here.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a cable that is running down from where your GPU is.
I think it's a daisy chain there because
Yeah.
it's maybe an 8+8.
Right.
Which that's because all the rest of the cable management is so clean. That stands out as
a little messy.
the noticeable part.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a tiny bit down here at the bottom with the cables from your fans could be cleaned up. Again, that's just because everything else is so clean elsewhere.
Yeah.
Good job overall, I would say.
Yeah. Not really.
Good looking build.
Nice
The
setup,
RGB
too.
is a little. I mean,
I feel like
this is an aesthetic thing, you know. Like here, you've got white in the front and then the RGB inside.
Right.
Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's fine. I don't know.
I would personally. I know it's ridiculous because we just talked about how expensive these fans are, but I would save up for another 3-pack and put them at the front.
Match them all.
It would look really nice. It
does give you a wide variety of options for color match. You know.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying doing seasonal colors for Arctic Panther back here.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Changes with the seasons.
That's what I did with the old office.
I did it first. It's my idea.
Nope. Shut up. You're stupid.
All
right. Thank you very much, William Williamson. Yes. We have Jack. Jack the Richards. R5 2600 with the Cooler Master Master Liquid 240, Gigabyte Aorus X470 Gaming 7 Wi-Fi, the GTX 1080 Gaming G1 from Gigabyte, and it looks like we have 32 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RGB at 3000 with a Lian Li 011 Dynamic.
Those are 16 gig sticks.
And to ease Paul's mind, yes, it is on my desk.
Thank you.
Always important.
That does ease my mind. All right, so you got 32 gigs. You got 16 gig sticks with the 2600. All right, so running at 3000. That's a nice setup there.
Those are LL series fans as well, on the right. Very nice. It looks like you don't have any, or that. Okay, that is your intake, and then you've got the exhaust going with your AIO.
But that's how you're supposed to do it.
No, it is. Yes, true. You could add more fans at the bottom if you wanted to. I feel like that might help GPU temperatures a little bit. Not that you would need it. I mean, that's a really good cooler on that card. I've tested it. Temps are pretty chilly already. I think that cable management needs a little bit of help towards the top of the case. It just looks like you've got maybe a fan cable going all the way across. It's just like all the way across. I don't know if there's any way to hide that. It's really obvious because it's a white interior, and you've got black cases, so it stands out like a sore thumb. But apart from that, I feel like at this point you should also go with matching fans for your AIO. Like get 2 more L series fans, put them on the AIO.
I appreciate the reverse shot. I actually feel like your cable management is better on this side than on the front.
He's got that nice big plate too.
Yeah, kind of like the dude 2 or 3 rigs ago. Like cable management's good, but it could be just
you're 90% better. There. You're 90% there. You're very close.
Nice rig overall, though. I like your choices. I like the color scheme you've gone with the RGB lights and all.
I would definitely get some like I don't know, because your specs are already pretty strong. Like I would get some nice like black and orange cables maybe to match like the existing scheme you have.
That would with
your motherboard, and you could obviously change
theme it up real nice.
Yeah,
that'd actually be really similar to the all Asus build that I did.
Oh yeah,
which was in the black.
Was that in the Thor?
What
case did you use? Or not the Thor, the Helios?
Did you I thought I used.
Did you do an all Asus build? No, I know I did one an all Asus build.
No, what case? Never mind. Ignore everything I say at the live show. I take no responsibility for it.
Neither do I. Same here.
No, it was not okay. Now I know why I'm confused. It was because it was in the Air. It's the PC011 Air, not the Dynamic. Or
PC011 Air.
Yeah, so it's the same design and everything, but it's got the
mesh
it's
front?
got the plastic front.
Uh-huh.
It's like vertical. It looks kind of like the in Star Wars that the little the sand people ride around in.
That's a racist term, Paul, and I'd be very appreciative if you never used it again.
Not the sand.
I'm very triggered right now.
Not the sand people.
There it is again. You just don't want to hear it. This isn't. We're not supposed to be racist on this show.
The Jawas, yes, the Jawas, exactly.
Whoa, dude, whoa.
The Jawas.
Check your privilege.
I wasn't talking about the sand people. I was talking about the Jawas.
Oh, there it is.
And it's the sand crawler.
Cuts me inside.
It's the sand crawler.
Cuts
Thank
me
you,
deep
chat.
every time.
See, chat knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're correcting you. They're saying Jawa. Can you call them by their proper names, not refer to them as you know what, the S word? God.
It's in the movie. I didn't...
Using that as blackmail. It's in the movie. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things in movies. Doesn't mean we should use them on a daily basis.
The sand people are frightened for now, but they'll be back soon and in greater numbers. Right?
It's just...
Okay.
They're not a hive mind, okay?
The Tuscan Raiders.
Tuscan Raiders. Okay. All right. I'm looking at the air now. Okay. Oh, in this case,
yes. It's the same exact layout as the other one.
I forgot about the air. I just never...
How'd you forget about air?
No, I forgot about the air.
Okay.
You know it. All right. So we have
one more.
We have one more. It's the B350 board.
Sean Duncan.
1800X. Thank you, Sean. 32 gigs, once again, of course, our Vengeance RAM. MSI Vega 56 with 64 BIOS. And we have InWin 101 white ATX case with a bunch of 120mm blue LED case fans from Apevia. All right.
That looks pretty cool.
Let's take a look. Yeah, those fans look nice. I'd like to see 2 more of those. Maybe one at the rear and one on your CPU cooler. Or you could just get a brand new CPU cooler that, I don't know, would be better for your 1800X. Because that one looks a little dinky. I know that Deep Cool cooler. It's very basic. It's very entry level. I'd put that on a Ryzen 5, but I don't know about an XQ flagship Ryzen chip.
It is standing, because the rest of this build is super clean.
Yeah.
I like how it's looking. I like the blue. I like just the MSI logo standing out in the red there. That is standing out as sort of the more budget part. Even though you do have something, this isn't necessarily super high end. You got an AB350 Pro 4 motherboard and stuff. But yeah, it's one of those cool in-win cases that you look at and you're like, oh, that's kind of different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it.
Good value cases.
I can't complain about your cable management. It's pretty solid all around.
Yeah.
Possibly could do with some better solution for your GPU power cables. I think you're dealing with a daisy chain situation there.
Yeah.
But it's minor. It's not standing out too bad.
Yeah.
Look at the cable. The cable from this rear exhaust fan is horrible. Let's fix that. Gotta fix that.
Ruins the whole build.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Anything else to say?
No.
All right.
It's good. Thank you, guys.
Well done, Sean.
That was Pit My PC, and that is also the end of my half of Awesome Hardware. So don't go anywhere. We're going to switch over to Paul's half right now. Link in the description of my YouTube video, or you can go to his channel, Paul's Hardware, and just stay where you are if you're on Twitch, because we're going to keep streaming there.
Yes, we will.
All right. We'll be right back.
Bye, guys.
Bye.